Welcome back. So in our previous video, we were discussing about different technologies which enables cloud computing. So we discussed virtualization and different types of virtualization. In this video, we are going to focus on another key technology that enables cloud computing, and that is a data center. So whenever we think about cloud, we always imagine this huge infrastructure of physical resources. And these physical resources can be storage resources, they can be computational resources, there can be a networking between these type of resources. So question ये है कि हम इन resources को कैसे arrange कर सकें, कैसे shape करते हैं, कैसे place करते हैं, and the answer lies inside a cloud data center actually. So let's dig into the cloud data center. And as per IBM, it's basically a physical facility है जहाँ पे आप IT infrastructure को क्या करते हैं, house करते हैं. And this IT infrastructure contains computational resources and storage resources, and also different type of network resources. Now remember, when we talk about this IT infrastructure, उसके साथ कुछ additional बातें भी attach होती हैं. For example, cooling, power and security protocols. So इट्स नॉट जस्ट सर्वर्स, इसको हम 24/7 ऑपरेशनल रखते हैं, बल्कि हमारे पास जब हम बात करते हैं डेटा सेंटर्स की, सो इट्स लाइक इट्स कवर अ ह्यूज एरिया. मीन द साइज, इट्स geographical जो हम बात करते हैं कि कितना एरिया है. So the area is like lot of square feet, and there can be hundreds and thousands of servers in that particular area. So data center ये कोई मतलब evolve हुए. First we had the concept of mainframe computers, and they were this dedicated servers. वो size में बहुत big होते थे, so we placed them in a room, and they worked in a multi-user environment, right? But with the evolution, जब computer का size जो सा है वो small होता गया, so we had the concept of the microcomputers. और microcomputers में हमारे पास जो सा है servers और जो हमारे पास storage devices हैं, उनको हमने place कर दिया एक room के अंदर, and still the concept of data center उसको apply करते हैं. But in 2006 onwards, हमारे पास hyperscale या जो cloud data centers का concept आया, and in such a data center we have like thousands of servers. It covers a huge area, and there are like 100+ operators जो कि इसकी management और networking से related जो है operations execute करते हैं. So these days it's a billion-dollar industry, and to facilitate to start a new data center, I mean, it's not something a small company or business can do. Only the big companies who have can afford such a thing वो इसमें कर सकते हैं. So when we talk about data center, so of course we choose the types क्या है. Now the type actually is based on the scale and the purpose कि किस गोल क्या है आपके data center का और किस scale पे आप उसको arrange करना चाहते हैं. So we have this on-premise data center where you have the full control and compliance as per the government policies, right? And then we have this hyperscale या जो cloud के data centers हैं, and they are accessed by millions of users. AWS, Azure and Google are of them. All of them are the examples of the, I mean, they use these hyperscale cloud data centers. Of course, you can have some co-location where the space is provided by, for example, Google, and you have your own hardware. So such a possibility exists. And yes, just using the concept of edge computing, तो हमारे पास edge data centers भी हैं, and the goal of the edge data center is to actually reduce the latency. Latency कैसे reduce होगी कि जो data है, computation है, we will bring closer to the user, and this will automatically reduce the latency. Now when we talk about data center, there are some core components जो कि मतलब लाजमन है उसमें data center में, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ supporting systems भी exist करते हैं. So the core components are three actually, and the first one is computation. So computation क्या है? Basically हमारे पास servers होंगे. ये servers हमारे पास different types के हो सकते हैं, but in short this is your computing power, this is your servers, these are your processors actually. And then we have the storage. Storage पे already मैंने एक lecture जो सा है वो upload किया हुआ है. You can go and check for that lecture. So we can have all the storage networks, DS, NAS, and SAN, and we can also have all the storage type, for example, block, file, or object storage. Whenever we talk about computation and then storage, so we need to link them, and of course there should be some kind of a networking, routers होंगे, switches होंगे, all of these infrastructure, right? So ये तो हमारे पास core components हो गए, that is the compute, storage, and networking. But with this we have some kind of supporting infrastructure. So हमारे पास, for example, power involved. You know, the data centers, they need a lot of power actually. right? Cooling हमारे पास है, चाहे वो liquid cooling है, चाहे वो AC के through है, या different technologies इस्तेमाल होती हैं. And then there is like security mechanism जो कि in place होंगे किसी भी data center में. Now let's talk about the first core component, and that is the server. So when we talk about the server, servers are different types. We can have a rack mount server. Rack mount servers तो नई चीज नहीं है, it's just सर्वर जिनको हम एक दूसरे के ऊपर एक रैक के अंदर क्या कर देते हैं, प्लेस कर देते हैं, just like this. So you have server 1, server 2, server 3. Now they can be of different size, लेकिन हमारे पास जो इंडस्ट्री है उसमें इसके लिए फिक्स साइज इस्तेमाल होते हैं रैक्स के लिए. सो यू लुक इनटू दैट रैक एंड देन यू कैन फिट दोज सर्वर्स इनटू दोज रैक्स. हमारे पास उनसे है ये सर्वर जो से है ये ब्लेड सर्वर भी हो सकते हैं. द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द रैक एंड द ब्लेड सर्वर इज जस्ट देयर साइज. ब्लेड सर्वर जो से है बेसिकली हायर डेंसिटी है, सो दे कवर लेस स्पेस एंड दे शेयर द पावर इन द कूलिंग यूनिट फॉर इंस्टेंस. And we can have a mainframe server as well. So instead of rack mount server or blade server, we can have just a mainframe computer जो कि यूजर जो है उसको मल्टी यूजर एनवायरनमेंट में इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. एंड एक्चुअली दीज वर द फर्स्ट कंप्यूटर्स जो कि वर्चुअलाइज हुए, राइट? सो वर्चुअलाइजेशन एज वी ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड इन आवर प्रीवियस वीडियो. मेनफ्रेम कंप्यूटर जो हैं, जो सर्वर्स थे, उनको हमने सबसे पहले वर्चुअलाइज किया था. नाउ देयर इज आल्सो अ कंसेप्ट ऑफ टावर सर्वर. टावर सर्वर बेसिकली क्या चीज़ होते हैं? इट्स आवर डेस्कटॉप कंप्यूटर्स जो हम अपनी डेली लाइफ में इस्तेमाल करते हैं. सो वी हैव दिस डेस्कटॉप कंप्यूटर विद स्टोरेज, विद रैम एंड computation, and we can connect these through some kind of network. So we also have the concept of tower servers as well. Moving on to the next unit, and that is the storage system. As I said before, इस पे already एक video है, upload है, you can go and check that video, which covers all the storage networks and all the storage types actually. So it can be direct attached, it can be a network attached for file sharing, or it can be a dedicated high-speed network जो कि block level access जो है provide करता है. Now, once we have the computation on one hand, and on the other hand, we have the storage. The next step is logical step is to link these steps. जो डेटा सेंटर्स हैं, जो आर्किटेक्चर इस्तेमाल करते हैं, उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? स्पाइन एंड लीफ आर्किटेक्चर. सो इट्स नॉट समथिंग कॉम्प्लिकेटेड एक्चुअली. वन थिंग वी मस्ट नो, जितने भी डेटा सेंटर्स होते हैं, दे नीड दिस हाई बैंडविड्थ, right? So the connection should be like gigabits or terabits per second. So coming back, spine and leaf जो architecture है, topology है, इसमें हमारे पास कुछ switches होते हैं जिनको हम बोलते हैं कि ये spine switches हैं, और कुछ switches होते हैं जिनको हम बोलते हैं कि ये loose switches हैं, and they are interconnected using a full mesh network. So let me show you a diagram. So as you can see here, this is our spine layer, and this is our leaf layer. So the spine layer has some kind of switches, and the leaf layer has some kind of switches, just like a tree जहाँ पे leaf nodes होते हैं. So the leaf layer switches, they are connected to the end devices, and these are the servers in this particular case, चाहे वो rack हो, चाहे वो blade servers हो. And this is the important point, that this switch is connected with all the leaf nodes. So that's why we use this terminology where we say full mesh. So full mesh means one node is connected with all the other nodes. Now that is the underlay network. तो ये हमारे पास basically कौन सा network हो गया? ये हमारे पास underlay network हो गया. And then what we can do, we can create a software defined overlay network on top of this underlay network. जो physical network है, उसके top पे हम software defined overlay network create कर सकते हैं, and that is for the security controls, and that is for service level agreements, for example. Now these were the core components, and when we come to the supporting component, of course we need some kind of power and cooling mechanisms, and along with that liquid cooling, there are different technologies used. Along with that, we have the concept of redundancy and uptime tiers. Now, these tiers, you will see them in literature sometimes. Tier 1 का data center है, tier 2 का data center है, 3 and 4. It's not something very special. Basically, we look at the different possibilities. So, for example, redundancy. So, tier 1, they don't provide any redundancy, and tier 4, they provide a full fault tolerance redundancy. Similarly, when we talk about the downtime, tier 1 have a greater downtime as compared to the tier 4. So, depending on these feature, we can have some like use cases. So, जो small businesses हैं, for example, वो tier 1 को प्रेफर करते हैं, इसकी कास्ट कम होती है, और जो हमारे पास क्लाउड है, बैंकिंग है, हेल्थ केयर है, they prefer this tier 4 data center, for example. So this uptime, it is represented in this 99.9%. You can calculate it yourself as well. Now, moving on to the next slide, we have this security layer. So when we talk about security, it's a multi-layer technology. So we have guards, fencing for the intrusion detection. We are talking about the physical security, physical parameter here. Then there is the infrastructure. So security is not just the physical, it can be for example, cooling करनी है, fire break हो जाए तो क्या करना है. So all these things for the infrastructure security. And then we have the data security. So we use encryption and audit and access control mechanism for that. And then we have the environmental security. So for example, disaster control के लिए, earthquake में या floods के cases में हम उसको कैसे control और manage करते हैं. So data center apply these different types of security mechanisms as well. So in this video, we actually covered, we looked at data center. Now this was not something जहाँ पे आपको data center की technical details समझ आ जाएंगे. It was actually a bird eye view जहाँ पे आपको सिर्फ ये understand हो जाए कि data center में आपके पास core component कौन से होते हैं और उसके साथ साथ जिनसे हैं हमारे पास जो supporting components हैं वो कौन से हैं. So I hope this lecture was helpful for you. That's it for today, and we will cover some other topics of cloud computing in our next video. Thank you for watching.